Nice one. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family. Got them trained. Now there comes a time in everyone's life when they meet their one true love, their lifelong partner, their soulmate. And for John, that moment came 30 years ago when he met me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Andy, and today I have the honour of being John's best man. It's a privilege, but it's also very big of John, because by asking me, he's finally admitting to everyone here that I truly am the best. To be honest, I always knew I'd be standing here as John's best man, but what I didn't know was that he'd end up marrying a woman. That came as a bit of a shock. John and I go way back. We grew up together, though to be fair, some of us more than others. We first met on Laurel Road, where I lived at the top in a quiet cul-de-sac, and John lived at the bottom. John's a year older than me, so when school finished, he'd always come looking for me, only after he'd had his daily fix of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I'd be on the streets rollerblading with my mate Alison or reading Bible stories with Farga's dad. John would come searching for me, usually telling everyone Andy's mum sent me to bring him home, but instead of heading home, we'd go on one of John's little mischief missions. First stop was usually the local school, where John would convince me to climb up onto the school to borrow some basketballs that kids had thrown up there. If he weren't doing that, he'd be picking out front doors for me to kick my football at. This was about the time that the neighbours started calling John the devil child. One time he threw an apple over a fence and it clocked Wilson's dad on the head. Safe to say, John wasn't winning any neighbourhood popularity contests, and this proved to be the last straw. His parents, Peter and Teresa, were furious and spent ages trying to think of the worst possible punishment to stop this behaviour, and that's when they moved to Widnes. As we got older, our shared love for football brought us even closer, especially our passion for the Reds. We tried to follow Liverpool home and away, but John always liked to claim that he was Mr. LFC. He'd remind me constantly that he had the season ticket, and I didn't. And believe it or not, he had a Michael Owen pillow. Still has, yeah. Although I recently learned he's been going on family days out to watch Everton. Yeah. Secretly knows. Now let's talk about John's career. Quite the CV this man's got. At one point he was a private investigator, basically a real life spy. He even carried a wallet full of business cards to hand out to the ladies. John Farrington, private investigator at Red. I mean, who wouldn't be impressed by that? He's doing his best to relive his private investigator days today, actually. Going full 007 in that velvet tux. But let's be honest, he looks less PI and more big fat gypsy wedding. Now, in all honesty, most of his work in life has been spent operating the children's teacups at Gulliver's World. Pedo. And he's currently driving his milk float around, delivering bottles of semi-skims milk to the elderly. I still remember the first time John told me about Holly. He's actually just touched on this story, but he said, Andy, I've met this girl at Thomas's school. She keeps putting her daughter's coat on Thomas's coat peg. Just so she can start a conversation. And I was like, mate, that's a bit creepy. But apparently it worked. Because not long after, the four of us were going on double dates, although we had to wait until Holly was of legal age before we could really get going. One memorable night was New Year's Eve when we ended up at a Robbie Williams tribute act, surrounded by pensioners. We were by far the youngest in the room. And Holly was there swinging a bin lid around her head. When John told me he was getting married at West Tower, I thought, wow, it's going to cost a fortune. I mean, look around, it's stunning. But here we are, on a cold, miserable day in November. No, to be fair, a November wedding is a great idea. I think John and Holly are secretly hoping it might snow tonight. John certainly is, because apparently he's promised Holly 3 inches in the morning. No, I won't keep you much longer. I had pages and pages of fat jokes lined up for today. But then John went and lost a load of weight. No. Well then, mate. Though I will point out, you've still got a massive head. A big thank you for everyone for making the effort to come out today to celebrate John and Holly. I know some of you have travelled far and wide. Others, let's be honest, have just shown up for the piss up. In fact, there are some people here today that John hasn't even met before. His online gaming buddies. Danny and Ben. Yeah, John's in his 40s. Basically in your 40s, aren't you? And he has online gaming friends. I'm surprised they're even real. Before I finish, I'd like to take a moment to compliment the bridesmaids. You all look absolutely stunning. Thank you for bringing a touch of class and elegance to the day. And let's be honest, balancing out the groomsmen. Speaking of which, let's give a round of applause for the groomsmen. They've really pulled out the stops, mostly to make sure I look like the best dressed here. Today is a happy day, not just for John and Holly, but for all of us who love them. It's been a joy to watch them grow together, and I know they have an incredible future ahead. I wish you both a lifetime of love, laughter and happiness. You're perfect for each other, and I couldn't be happier for you both. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in raising a glass to celebrate the new Mr. and Mr. Farrington. That's me. Nice one.